For those of you who are here for part 3, feels a wee bit like Star Wars or something, doesn't it? Part 3 of the trilogy. So as you know, the webinars have been based on the contents of my book, Secrets of Successful Sales. And it's actually got 4 parts to it. So the first part is around behaviours, which we did week 1. Then the second one is process, which we did week 2. And this week it's strategy, and we've wrapped in confidence in there. And we're going to have a little look at goal settings, because I think sometimes if we look at sales, it's ourselves that holds ourselves back, isn't it? And I think that we want you to get out of this session. There is no mention this week, but as always, we will be using the chat for any questions. So let me share with you one of the things that I have seen most in all kind of talks that I do to small businesses. And it's to do with sales and marketing being like golf. I definitely haven't done this in any of the 2 sessions that we've done. So if I say we were in a live audience and I said, put your hand up if you can clearly define the difference between sales and marketing, you know what, the hands that go up are few and far between. And as you know what, I've been doing some, like spending some time over the last few weeks in Clubhouse, which is the new social media app. And it's an audio app. So I go in and I talk about different things, sales-wise, operations-wise. So what I want to do is I want you to have clarity in the process between where your marketing finishes and sales starts. And I'm going to throw in where operations sit as well. So some of you will come from an operational background. So the reason I talk about golf is when I was younger, I played for the West of Scotland girls golf team. And I think when you learn to do something at an early age, it sticks with you. So for those of you who have played golf, play golf, then you're going to love this. For those of you who haven't, don't even know what golf is and just think it's a waste of a walk, then I will hopefully give you some clarity around it. So if we look at marketing, right, let's look at that first of all, because that's the thing that really grows awareness of your brand. So marketing put the tee in the ground and put the ball in the tee. So they kind of set it up. So things like your website, your social media, a direct mail, so a mail shot campaign that you would do, even like things like this, you know, speaking at events, those are marketing activities to grow awareness of your brand. So what then happens is marketing have kind of put the tee in, put the ball in, us in sales, we take it down the fairway, we put the ball in the green, and then we put the ball in the hole, because only when the ball goes in the hole do we make any money, right? So that's what I want you to think about, really. You know, the money, the ball going in the hole is when you make the money. Now, I can remember doing this years ago, and somebody put up their hands, you know, like a shot, like you could see the face, like this is maybe, I don't know if this is a Scottish term, but their face was like fizz and their hand went straight up. And I said, yes, yes, yes. And she says, that's a load of rubbish. And I went, okay, well, why is that a load of rubbish? Explain. She said, wow, us in marketing, we put the tee in the ground, we put the ball in the tee, we put the ball right beside the pin, and you sales guys tap it in and take all the glory. So, but if your marketing is good and your brand awareness is high, it should generate inbound inquiries and make the sales process a lot easier. But where you have to look at things like Amazon and eBay, although we would refer to that as making sales, it's not. It's a hole-in-one for marketing. The human part, when we start to have conversations with people, or we proactively arrange Zooms or anything that's in the proactive space with the human to human, is when sales comes into play. So hopefully that gives you that clarity. And, you know, it must be great to be Amazon or eBay to get all those holes in one for marketing. And I think as small business owners, it's the eureka, we want that to happen, but it doesn't. That's where most of the time sales has to keep it together. So this is my new take on this as well, because somebody said, right, okay, Alison, I understand that. I get where sales and marketing's coming in, but what about operations? What happens if you're running a restaurant and the service is bad? Or what happens if you're manufacturing a product? That's got to affect it all. And I said, yeah, operations are like the greenkeepers. It's their job to keep the course nice and rake the bunkers so that people keep coming back. So, and that's what it is. Like if your sales and your marketing and your operations work, actually you'll get repeat business. So hopefully there'll be, I can't see all your faces because I can only see a wee row, but I know there'll be some of you scowling at me because I'm taking all the glory for sales. But hopefully that gives you some clarity. What I really need you to look at your activities that you do on a daily or weekly or monthly basis, and actually how much of that activity marketing and how much sales, because people love marketing but they're like, oh, sales, I'm quite frightened of sales. And a lot of that comes again, it's definitely psychology, it's the brain, because with marketing, unless you're getting trolled, there's no fear of rejection. They might not read it, they might not engage, but they're not, unless they're a bit odd, they're not going to reach out and troll you. Whereas in sales, if somebody says no or is rude to you, that's our personal, that's us that they're affecting, and we go into fight, flight, or freeze. So what I want to do, the other common thing that I see when it comes to sales strategy is no one's ever got time for sales. Far too busy doing my marketing or raking the bunkers, but a lot of people do not focus on their time on sales. So for those of you who may or may not have seen the Eisenhower Matrix, so the Eisenhower Matrix is based on important and urgent, not important, not urgent. And do you know what? I don't get that. As you know from my story, I left school at 16. I'm not particularly academic. And when I was training sales teams, and I was trying to explain how to manage time, it wasn't working. So again, like everything, I have to translate it. So I've translated it into Alison Edgar's big balls of time management to give you time back to be able to concentrate on sales. So if you have a little look, so a lot of times, again, people love marketing, they're not so fond of sales. So they will say, oh no, my basketball is I've got to do my social media posts, I've got to do my mail shot, I've got to do this. And then when it comes to actually picking up the phone and having conversations with people, because they don't like it, they'll make that be the ping pong ball. But ultimately, I've already told you all, it's sales that puts the ball in the hole. So it's readdressing what you do with your time. And I think for those of you who have got a team, either a sales team or you work in a team, again, with the greenkeepers and the tea putters inners, then it's how you communicate. And one of the things that I see affects people not being able to sell, or the operations which affect sales results, is the disparity of the balls. So say, for example, you are in a sales role. Let's, I think I saw Cameron Hunter, he's back for week 3. So I think it was finance that you do, or mortgages, I can't remember. But like, for example, and salespeople predominantly work in quarters. So let's say that it's coming to the end of the financial year, which for most of it is, or the end of the quarter for some people, then a salesperson is targeted to sell a certain amount. So for them, getting a hold of the client and closing the sale is their basketball. But actually for the customer, it's the ping pong ball, and it's trying to make whatever it is you're selling become a basketball to the customer rather than the ping pong ball. And the balls change. So for example, if you consider car insurance, right? So again, I'm trying to get you around thinking about your time and how you focus your sales tasks. So if we say your car insurance is due on the 1st of April, that in the, I don't know, in the 1st of December, it was a ping pong ball. And then if in February it became a tennis ball. And then if your car insurance is due on the 1st of April, you're now moving into basketball strategy, and you're having to firefight and deal with it quickly. The secret of, again, managing a good sales pipeline is to know the time frame of when the customer's due to close the sale so that you can prioritize. So I'm hoping that, does that make sense? Because the Alison Edgar's big balls, it actually works for sales, operations, and organizing your time. So Corey says yes. Actually, I'll take some yeses just to make sure. And again, if there's any questions on this, so I will throw this out to the chat. Who does a linear to-do list? Who has a to-do list in a line? If that is you, give me a yes or a no. Let's get you pumping this morning on a Thursday. Catherine says yes. Nikki says yes. Aaron says yes. Amy, nope. Cameron Hunter doesn't. Oh, I'm going to come back to that potentially. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so my top tip is Anne doesn't. I wonder if Anne uses Alison Edgar's Big Balls because she's heard me speak before. We use a tool called Trello, so Trello, and it's a free app. You can also use Mondays or Asana, but rather than having a linear list, I would recommend that you put your tasks in. Is it a basketball, tennis ball, ping pong ball? And then yay, it's done. So you're creating 4 cards. And then what you can do is shuffle the cards as the priority of the task changes. Also, for those who don't have a CRM, it's also quite nice to be able to use that as your prospect. So rather than use an Excel spreadsheet, actually you can use that at the start of the journey as part of your CRM before you move across. The other thing that you can do, and this works really well, this is what I do with organizations. I teach them the big balls of communication. And if it's a small team, then for example, Rebecca, who works for me, so again, getting the slides ready for today, if I'd have left it to this morning, it would have been a basketball. And again, I did it the week before. And you can see again why avoiding firefighting gives you time back for sales. But I can put tasks in her board as a basketball, tennis ball, or ping pong ball. So again, by having good time management, what it does is it brings you back to have time to sell. And that's where I feel loads of people use not having time for sales as an excuse because they're not treating it as a basketball. So again, hopefully that makes sense. What I would say, if you haven't bought Secrets of Successful Sales, I did this yesterday. I was speaking to an event for the fitness industry and I said, look, it's 10 quid. I recommend that you buy the book. Well, after 3 years after launch, it went back to #1 on Amazon yesterday. So I'm expecting a lot from you guys to go back to #1 again today. So again, I think this is another thing, because if you know your statistics, a load of people they don't follow up on their leads. So and that's again because A, they say they don't have time, and B, they don't have a system like a CRM. For those of you who don't know what a CRM is, it's the customer record management tool. So again, there's things like Zoho, ActiveCampaign, Salesforce, SAP, there's loads of tools in that space. And what that does is it helps you to have a real idea of the customer's journey, how often you've contacted them, what the last conversation was, and actually being able to pinpoint the information that you need to have good conversations. But these, the oldies are the goodies. This is quite an old stat, but 48% of salespeople never follow up with a prospect. 25% make a second and then stop. But most sales are made between the 8th and the 12th time, 85%. And what I mean by that is, that's touch points. So not like you're phoning them up, stalking them every 5 minutes. But again, and I believe that a lot of the reason that people stop is the fear of rejection. And if you feed that back through, a lot of the time, if you're a relationship focused introvert, so back to week 1, if you're over on the introvert side, you don't want to be followed up. So that will affect, again, you're treating other people how you want to be treated rather than how they want to be treated. And how you would do the follow-up feeds in to week 2. So in week 2, we talked about good questions. Stuart's got his hand up. Stuart, have you got a question?
Sorry, it just occurred to me that this is, you talked about how sales is the same as customer service. And we talk about touch points where, you contact these people over a period of time. Well, it's the same with our chamber membership. We want to keep engaged with people. I had a question at the end of that and it's gone out of my head, but I think the point is, how do you relate this to customer service? And that's the question, sales on a repeat basis, because some sales are monthly, weekly, annual, like chamber membership is annual, and it's part of a cycle rather than we just don't assume that they will rejoin after a year.
Yeah, I think the key word for everybody, like my word that I want you to take away today is purpose. Because so many people phone, like say for example, it was one of the girls that do the chamber membership, and you're phoning them up saying, how are you getting on through COVID? You know, okay, well, we're here if we need me. I'm not saying that they do that, by the way, but it's a weak purpose. You know, the purpose is just to check in actually. You know, the purpose is to find out, you know, how your business has been affected over the last 12 months, how you have managed to bring inbound sales, and what you're doing to address the next 12 months. So the purpose of this is we've got a lot of events running through the chamber, and my suggestion is that we renew your membership to ensure that you've got all the details that you need. So again, it's purpose. A lot of people make quite, again, I'm at week 3 now, I can shoot from the hip, but a lot of people make quite wishy-washy calls without a purpose, and then that's when people stop taking your calls because they can't see the value in that call. So again, it's okay to carry on, but you know, the reason a lot of people stop after 2 is A, they're scared, and B, they don't know what the purpose is. And coming back to what we did in week 2 about getting to the need, that's what you revisit in that follow-up call. So hopefully that makes sense. Purpose, what, you know, think about the purpose of everything that you're doing. And again, I think this is, it's interesting because when we start our businesses or we start in a sales role, sometimes it just becomes mundane. You know, you forget that why you're doing it. Again, the purpose of what you're doing. And, you know, the new book, which comes out in May, is called Smash It, The Art of Getting What You Want. And it's been driven by people who use secrets of successful sales in their personal life. And what we did was, it's more of a personal development book. So we did some research on to who hits their goals. And again, this comes back into strategy. But actually, in the survey done in 2018, only 8% of people achieve their goals. And that's where I think, you know, there's 2 angles to look at sales. There's the money that it brings in to generate in your business, but there's also the goals that you want to do with the money that you take out of your business. And sometimes it's focusing on the goals that are external to your business. And again, it might be a car, it might be a house, it might be one of those, like, I don't know if you remember them, but they're called holidays in the sun. Who knows? Now, you don't have to go anywhere in the sun now that you've got, you know, you've got the chamber area, your geographics. But that's what I mean. So there is such a close association to your personal goals with sales, because that's what gives you the energy and the purpose to drive forward, to make sales and have conversations, even when you don't really feel like it. And that's what the top performers do. Don't forget, all of this is based on what the top performers do. And everything we do is a sale. And the reason is, at the end of the new book, shh, don't tell anyone, but I do prove it, because if I say it's about sales, no one will buy the new book because everybody hates sales. So it's really, I prove it at the end of the book. Oh, we are doing Mentee today. Sorry, that was my fault. I didn't think we were doing that. I missed it in the slides. So Mentee.com, what do you want? So, you know, I want you to have a think about the, you know, what are the things in your sort of personal, this is all anonymous anyway, so I can't see who's putting in what, but Mentee.com, you should all be used to this now after 3 weeks, Mentee.com, and the code is 628290. And what will happen is, if you just put in, you know, a phrase or a word, this one will create a word cloud. I don't think we've had a word cloud bit yet. So Mentee.com 628298. I'm going to swap to the next screen, but the code will come with me. It's just thinking. I'm hoping.
And my phone is, I'm looking at the Mentee thing, and it doesn't recognize that code. 628298.
Oh, hang on a minute, because people are getting in, I think, are they?
Can somebody say if they, in the chat, if they are actually in?
Actually, I don't think, do you know what? This isn't particularly working. 628280 is not working. Okay. Don't worry, what I'll do, that's what happens when, what is it when they say you prepare to fail? Stuart, when you don't prepare. But I'll give you an example. So this is something that we did in another course, which is coming up here, but financial security, lifestyle, focus, success, money.
Sorry to interrupt you. I see there's a different code at the top there. Should we try that one?
That one.
Yeah, do you want to try that one? 95. No, actually, Stuart, don't, because this is already on there. So let's not do that.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's my fault. I should have checked that this morning with you guys. Anyway, what I want you to take from this slide that you can see on the screen is actually a lot of these things: success, independence, happiness. It's quite wishy-washy, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like, how can you, what does success look like to you? Because what it looks like to Tony might be completely different to what it looks like to Caroline. So this is where I see a lot of people, when they're setting their personal goals, they're not specific enough. So I think the old ones are the goodies, aren't they? So if you have a little look, the SMART, like, I'm going to just use the chat again, get you back in here. Who actually sets good SMART objectives, either monthly or weekly or daily? Give me a yes or no, so we can all get involved. Do you set SMART goals either weekly, monthly, annually? Yeah, that's good. Stacey teaches it and does it weekly. Rachel sometimes. Nikki does, yes. Oh, look, you're all gold star pupils. Cameron says, yeah, for our house.
Alison, in case it's helpful, someone's put in should it be this code? I've put it in and it does come up with a questionnaire about what do you want.
No, I think that we can't do it because even if you put it in, the word bubble won't come up because they're not linked. So I would say I wouldn't do that because I mean, the purpose of that was, when I do the word cloud, lots of people put things that are non-specific. So again, it's not specific, it's not measurable, it's not achievable, it's not relevant, and it's not time focused. So so of the people that are putting yes, and again, I know some of you teach it, how many people do a goal board? How many people have got a vision board that they can actually see the goal? So of the people that said, yes, I do, how many? Catherine says no. Samantha says yes. Cameron does no, yes, no. There's a few, so it's a wee bit mixed in there. So I think one of the things that is really important, again, because don't forget the reason that we're doing this, the reason that we are doing this is because your personal goals tie to the motivation for sales, right? So this is what the link is, because if you've got that, you're more likely to be able to spend time in sales. So this is my 2020 one. And it's quite interesting because some of the goals that you set you set them for the wrong reasons. So for example, I've got on my goal board in 2020 that I was going to start a psychology course. But the purpose of that was just really to prove to myself, because I don't have a degree, that I'm worthy, really. So when you really analyze in what your goals are and why you're setting them, again, that word purpose, the purpose wasn't strong enough. So that was something that I actually took off the goal board. So I think this is a fluid document. International speaking, well, we all know what happened with that, don't we, in 2020, holiday in Croatia. So those kind of things, then what you do with that, once you've got your goals, 2020 was a write-off for a lot of people. We had to move it. So you just move the time frame. So what I would say, like, we've got our goal boards. I've not brought up 2021 because there's a lot of things in there I don't want to share, but yet. But again, I think it's important. We do ours on Canva. For those of you, you can do it on like sticky notes on your fridge, do whatever. But the reason it's important to have that vision board is on the days where you're really struggling, it gives you something to focus on. On the days when you have lost confidence and you think, oh, I don't really want to pick up the phone and have that conversation about sales, focusing on the board gives you the motivation. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm sorry about the Mentee.com, that I take that one on the chin. Good job it's week 3 and I've bought you over, and you know that I'm not normally a bumbling idiot on here. So, you know, coming back to this purpose again, you know, and it ties in. So this is a wee bit of me before and a wee bit of me after. So the reason that I lost weight wasn't to be, well, I tried to lose weight previously to be more aesthetically pleasing, shall we say, but that's not a strong enough why to do something. So I think Again, you know, Stuart for his exercises, taking back up on the kayaking, you know, what's the purpose of that? And if you're strong, you've got a strong reason that you're doing it, you'll carry on. But so many people start to do something and then they stop. So the reason that I bring this up isn't to say, oh, look at me, I've lost 3 stone in weight and I can do boot camp now and I can run. It's so that you actually, on the days when you're really struggling and you don't want to do it, why do you want to sell? And I promise you the link back to that is it comes back to your personal goals. So if you can visualize them, it will help you to hit them. And it's interesting because a lot of people say to me, what's one of the key elements that you need for sales? They're frightened of sales. They really, really struggle to find that confidence. You know, as I mentioned before, the reason I wrote the book was people don't know the behaviors, they don't know the process, they don't have a strategy, and it affects their confidence. So we need to work on that confidence, because honestly, if I had a said that says they're not, that I could retire to my villa in Tamar. So let's have a look. Now, this is based on Carol Dweck's studies. For those of you who haven't heard of Carol Dweck, she is amazing. I would look and do some research around her. She is a professor at Stanford and she works on education for children. So this is, again, I'm coming back. If I had £1 for everybody that tells me, oh, I'm rubbish at sales, oh, I don't like sales, I'm not good at sales, you know, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I'm either good at it or I'm not. Oh, I tried sales, I don't like it, I'll just hide behind marketing. Oh, I don't want to be challenged. I'll just stick to what I know. And you know what, if somebody gives me feedback that they think I'm pushy, or somebody gives me feedback, that's me, I'm taking that personally. So today, you know, I've given you purpose as one of your big takeaways and why you're doing it. But the next thing is I need you to think with a growth mindset. I need you to think about sales, that I can learn to do anything I want. You know what, I might have tried this before and it didn't work, but what have I learned from this and what can I do moving forward? Set yourself, you know, you've set yourself personal goals. Loads of you have set personal goals, but what have you set as your sales goals? And I don't just mean your end of, you know, your cash flow forecast or your budgeting. I mean, what activity have you set yourself that are non-negotiable? I am going to speak to 5 people a day, or I'm going to do this a day, or because without that, you won't have that direction. And I'll go back to golf, my first favorite pastime. You know, I got roped into golf because my dad played originally, my mum was a golf widow, and they had to keep taking me with them. And I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But I had a choice to make. I can either learn to do it, or I could whinge and moan. Again, you know, a lot of that comes back to sales. You can either learn to do it, or you can whinge and moan that actually you're not good at it and there's no money coming in. So I think this is where it's the shift in your mindset. So after I had literally hacked the fairways in the golf course, I decided to take myself to the practice green. And I was like a little boomerang, hit, fetch, hit, fetch, hit, fetch. I practiced and I practiced. I still wasn't getting very good. So I took on board a coach that was an ex-professional player. He was a little old guy, and he made sure I had the right swing. He made sure that I had the right, you know, stance. He made sure that I was, you know, the right mindset. And it's the same for sales. So it's really important that, you know, maybe sometimes you can't do this on your own, and you do need a coach. You know, again, I know some of you in the room will be business coaches, or, you know, some of you might be sales coaches, but sometimes we do need that help and focus to help us get good, to pick us up when things don't go well, when you do end up in the rough or out of bounds, or, you know, it does come back to your mindset. So, and one of the things writing the new book, I honestly feel that I've discovered the meaning of life. I honestly feel that I learned new things I didn't know in the research for it. But I swear to you right now, all roads led to growth mindset. And that's the part, if you can crack that, then you will be successful at sales. Let's have a wee look. Okay, there's no questions in there, I don't think. There's just some comments. So how do you switch your mindset? I think that's the 60 million Is that right? $60 million question, whatever it is. And this is what, again, this is a huge takeaway for everybody that's sitting in this room going, oh, you know what, I don't like sales, or do you know what, I'd like to be better at sales, or I'm scared of rejection. It is all in this circle. So you know, if you're thinking, I'm not good at sales, I can't do this, then what will happen is, this is what you're thinking. It starts here, I promise. The thing between your two ears is everything. It's everything. And again, I've discovered so much of this from writing the new book. If you think that, it feeds into how you feel. It's the CBT method. For anybody that's done CBT, it's CBT. But then what will happen is you'll be anxious, and you'll be scared of rejection. I'm not good at this. Oh no, what happens if it goes wrong? And we'll be having that argument with the voice in our head. We've all got that voice in our head, and we're arguing with ourselves. Then what will happen, you will then go into how you behave. Your behavior will be just, I'm going to shy away from it. And again, coming back to those of you in marketing, oh, I'll just do my social media. I'll just send them an email. Email is not sales, everybody. Email is marketing. And you can't build a relationship using an email. And again, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because you shy away for it. You think you're not good. So that's where a lot of people sit. I mean, it's just a vicious circle. And a lot of the fear and sales results are actually coming from what's between your ears. You know, you've got now some skills, you understand the behaviors, you understand the importance of open questions. A lot of this now is not something that anyone can give you. It's something you have to learn yourself. So Amanda says, good point, what's the worst that can happen? You don't get a sale, but you've learned from it. Again, that's growth mindset. I might not have sold, but what have I learned? Every day is a school day. So this is your homework, everybody, okay? I need you to start off thinking this. I feel confident that I can sell. I've got this. I can sell, because if you've got that feeling, and again, when it's delivered correctly, sales and customer service is exactly the same thing. So if you believe your product or service is something that somebody needs, then that's what gives you the confidence, you know, and you owe that to your customers to give them that service. And because you start to think this, what will happen? You'll start to feel, I'm excited. Alison Edgar's got me revved up to use my new skills. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. And then what will happen is, you know what? You'll be rocking it. You'll be like, I'm going to engage in sales conversations and look for opportunities. I'm going to understand the behaviors. I'm going to ask good open questions. And you know what's going to happen, guys? You will close sales. I know you will close sales, because this is what I teach. This is what I see all the time. This is what I do all the time. And then because you're closing sales, your confidence grows. But can you see from this, you know, you can have all the gear and no idea. And until you turn your mindset that you're confident in sales, then it will affect your close rate and how you bring money into the business. And that will then affect how you hit your personal goals. Amanda says, I used the behaviors work since my last sale and converted my client as listened properly to what she wanted, confirmed back to me. Oh my goodness, boom. Amanda Hines. Amanda Hines is my gold star pupil. Amanda, if you can send your details to Olivia or somebody at the chamber as a special gift for being the first person that said, boom, I'm loving sales, I'm going to give you a complimentary copy of my online course, which retails at 300 quid. So boom, love it, because you were confident enough to share your story. I need that love of sales to make the magic happen.
Oh, thank you.
There you go, Amanda. And this is, I know that you've been in every session as well. You've been in all three because I've seen you. So yes, do that, no problem. Right. So what's the quick win? Come on, let's try and get some revenue coming through as the quick win. So again, a lot of people make things so overcomplicated, right? They really make it overcomplicated. You know, how can you, ultimately, you should all have a customer base, right? So I talk about bingo. It's like, you know, when you're playing bingo and I'm hoping you've all played bingo, because I love bingo, right? I'm rubbish because I get so excited that I forget to shout house when I've made it, because I'm like so excited about the whole bingo malarkey. But this is how, if you think about your existing client base, right? So I've down on the left-hand side, again, for those of you who have got a lot of clients, this is quite a laborious task, but for those of you with smaller businesses, what I would do is I would literally make a bingo card. You can use it on Excel or whatever you like. So ABC company, I've got Elf Shoes and Discovery Channel. So again, there is a quiz here. There's only one of them. It's my actual client, and it isn't Elf Shoes or ABC. And then what I do, I put my products that I can sell them, the potential. And this is where, again, even as a service industry, a lot of you will be service based. There's a lot of focus on now, like everybody needs an online course, everybody needs this, everybody needs that. But the reason that you have that focus is it actually helps to widen your products so that you can sell more of your product or service into your client base. So if we say ABC company, they do that, you know, they buy sales training, sales coaching, and they've got a webinar and the book. So the gap there is speaking, right? Now, ABC company, I've only got 10 employees. Are they going to pay me to speak? Well, probably not. So again, what's the probability in there? Even if I have a conversation, there's probably not much there. So when you're ranking your clients of probability, so purpose and probability, then you would stop there. But if you look at Elf Shoes, for example, they've been on a webinar, they've bought the book, but they might struggle to be able to implement what I've taught them. So I would then be having a conversation with Elf Shoes. Hi, Elf Shoes, it's Alison Edgar. You came on the webinar, you've got the book. The purpose of this conversation is just to find out what you've done to utilize the information, and how we could look to try and help you grow that. So again, I'm finding out how they've got on. If they say, I really liked it, but I've not been able to implement it. Okay, where did you struggle to implement it? And what can I do to help you? That there's a need there. Go back to the second part of the webinars. You've created a need, and only when you've got a need can you match the product or service that you sell. So does that make sense? And then Discovery Channel. So I spoke at their offsite event, and I think they've got the book, but you know, I can backload some of the stuff using open questions so that you can have those conversations. But until you've got your bingo card, the calls will be weak with no purpose, and again, potentially wishy-washy because you backload the questions in. Does that make sense? If that's making sense, if everybody's loving a bit of bingo, give me a yes in the chat. Let's see some yeses. Tony says yes. Caroline says yes. Oh, whoop, 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 whoop. I sense a yellow in the house. Stacey says yes with a happy face. I sense a yellow red in the house. Love the behaviours, even from one word. I can start to work out the colours. Right, okay. So can you see these are your sort of takeaways of how you're going to start implementing the stuff that I've told you in the last two sessions? What I'd love, Amanda, as well, we're trying to do, there'll be a survey that will come out after this with the recording of the webinar. So I think it's really important, anybody that has made any sales, that we attribute this back to the webinars, because the webinars are funded. You know, the LEP are paying me to deliver it for you. And with everything that happens in government, they love a wee bit of evidence. So any evidence that you can provide would be amazing. Right, so coming back, like I'm going back to bingo. So we've got in here ABC company, Elf Shoes and Discovery Channel. What you need to do is prioritize them. Now, this also happens on LinkedIn or people that you've met before. And again, I find a load of people don't know how to prioritize. So this is my Alison Edgar strategy to networking. So say, for example, there is somebody in here that runs an event, say they do trade shows, or for example, and they pay people to come and speak at events. Well, that's my ideal inquiry. So what I do with those people is I hypothetically marry them. So I've got like a marry strategy. So where you've got those names of the clients or names of the prospects, I will have the marry ones at the top, because those are the ones that I really want to do business with. And we're going to be talking about LinkedIn in a little minute before we open for more questions. But I mean, you know, I don't know about you, but I get bombarded by little sort of trash messages that are just selling too soon and things that I don't even need. And so what I do is I avoid them. And I think this works. I mean, it'll not be long till we're back to face networking. So there'll be people that you hypothetically want to marry. Hypothetically, you think, actually, I've spoken to them. There's no synergy, or they don't share my values. And then, okay, in the chat, if we hypothetically marry some, hypothetically avoid some, what do we do with the rest of the room? Come on, give me your thoughts. Snog. Karen Hunter wants to hypothetically snog the rest of the room. Yes, we do. And that's why, you know, when we meet somebody, we're trying to work out by using good open questions if there is something in there that you can do. And, you know, especially for introverts who network, sometimes that they spend so much time, you know, with one person, and they haven't been able to hypothetically snog the rest of the room to have those conversations and how you prioritize. So that's my takeaway. Snog, marry, avoid. Right. We have got about 3 minutes of content, and then we are going to be open for questions. Social media, again, I know that this is obviously a marketing strategy because I've already shared that with you. But what I want to share is the story of Q8 and the European Commission. So you'll see, you won't recognise me because I'm not wearing pink, but I'm the one in the middle with the blonde hair in this photo. And twice on LinkedIn, people have looked at my profile, right? They've viewed my profile. And what I've done is I've connected and said, thank you for viewing the profile. Were you looking for something specific or just updating your network? So again, a good alternative question, because if you use open and go, why were you looking at my profile? That sounds a wee bit weird, doesn't it? So use a nice softer alternative in there. And twice they said they were looking for a speaker for their event. So as you can see, I did go to Q8 and I was due to be at the European Commission. But what I did was, and this is where sales and marketing together, guys, this is how I can give you an example of golf. The marketing brought it in, but then I sold a Zoom conversation or a phone call. And that's where the transition comes in. And that's where, again, if you look at operations, my operation is doing a good job of delivery. If my operation is rubbish, then they're not going to have me back. That's where the greenkeeper and raking the bunker comes in. So you can hopefully see by that, that's a great example of how you take something from golf straight through into sales. And then you have to make sure, again, like this, the operation is either the getting slides to you and the content or the communication with the chamber, and then me turning up and doing a good job of delivery. If any of those factors don't work, it affects your reputation. So that's why you need the greenkeeper, you need the tee, and you need putting the ball in the hole. So I've got one slide, and then I'm taking the slide pack back, and then I'll be asking any questions. So in the chat, who can tell me who this lady is? Who knows who this is? Kate Moss. Cameron Hunter says it's Kate Moss. It is Kate Moss. So, and I think this is really quite important. Let me just come back off of this. So wait a minute. So if we have a little look, am I Kate Moss? And the answer to that is no, I am not Kate Moss. But every single day, I wake up and I look in the mirror and I see the supermodel of sales. And because I see the supermodel of sales, that's what you see. I'm Alison Edgar. So I'm going to open for questions. But before that, I'm looking for a favour from you. Secrets of Successful Sales. If you haven't already bought it, I would love to see it back at the top of Amazon again, 2 days in a row after 3 years of release. The other thing is Instagram. I am trying to get verification on Instagram. So if anybody's on Instagram, I would love a follow because it will help me get my verification. And then the third thing is the new book, which is called Smash It, The Art of Getting What You Want, is coming out in May, June. But I've created an action book around the goals. And there's exclusive content, exclusive, never before seen content. So I'm looking for 3 asks. If you've not got the book, I would love you to get a copy. Alison Edgar on Instagram and Smash It. But again, we'll send that link and it will go out with the email. I am stopping sharing the screen and I am opening up to questions or comments. There we go. Right, who has got a question? If you want to unmute, since we're on our last one, unmute, chat away with me.
So thank you, Alison, and thank you for showing a photo of the next Mrs. Elford there. That was great. Yeah, questions for Alison. Oh, and before we do, I'll ask Olivia if you can. I think we've got your slide deck, but if we haven't, if you send us that slide with your book and Instagram on it, we'll put it in our e-newsletter to our members, so that everyone's got the link. So please do that. Yeah. So. Questions for Alison? Everyone's gone shy. You've either covered everything in sales or, I mean, so can I just ask a question? I mean, you mentioned testimonials, which is really, really important about if any of you have had any successes, please let us know. Alison covered this for me. Thank you, because we got this funded by the Heart of the Southwest LEP, and I really must thank them for that. We want to do more of this sort of thing, but I need evidence to go back and say, hey, look what happened. So if any of you have made a sale, we're using a technique or anything you used on this, even if you want it anonymized, please just send it to me so that we can collate those, or send it to Olivia, whose email you've probably got, but it's olivia.patterson with one T, Patterson at devonchamber.co.uk. And we will collate those and put them up to the LEP to say thank you. Anyone prepared to say they've used this technique successfully? I think somebody. Oh, Amy, have you got your hand up? Amy, come in. Amy Strickland.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, I've bought Alison's book. I'm really enjoying it. I'm really new to sales. I've worked in customer service all my life, but I'm really new to it, and I'm like a rabbit in the headlights. So it's given me massive guidance. So thank you for that. My question was really about the personalities. I am self-confessed yellow all day long, and but I meet a lot of reds. And I sometimes get myself in a situation where I feel quite intimidated by the red. So any tips on how you can overcome that?
Yeah, for sure. So the automatic like bad day of the yellow was when you get into that situation and it's not a comfort one. What you do is you'll just start to talk, over talking. So the secret is to notice that it is a red. It's going to sound really bad, but have a word with your head, have a word with yourself, and think, right, okay, make a conscious effort to say, right, okay, I think that my next move is going to be to overtalk what I need to do. And again, I know it sounds a wee bit odd, but actually practicing your breathing really helps, because when you're nervous like that, and if you feel that the reds are making you anxious, then what will happen is your heart rate will go up. So if you've got a Fitbit, have a wee look at before you would make a call, if you know it's a red, or have a conversation, check your heart rate out and really work on bringing your heart rate down, which will steady your breathing. And when you steady your breathing, that will make you slow down, naturally slow down. And when you naturally slow down, you will talk with more purpose. The other thing is, again, that word purpose for the red is so important, and really leading in with a good open question. I call it the killer question, because if they're talking, there's one thing that's for sure: you can't be doing it at the same time. And you need to listen to what they're saying, and not be listening so that you know what question to ask next, but so that you actually know what they're saying and how to get to the need. So that's my top tip. And it sounds a wee bit weird, and it's not in any of the books, but that is my top tip, is really work on your breathing. And if you've got a Fitbit, have a look at your heart rate, because that's the thing that will make you go faster, and that's the thing that will wind them up. And they'll try and put you under pressure because they're task focused and time is important for them.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
And those DISC reports will help you identify that sort of thing. So if any of you want, remember, I've put Olivia's email in the chat again. So that would be really helpful. Alison, we have a question about how to overcome rejection. Easy to tell yourself next, but how do we actually pick ourselves up again, especially when we are targeted to perform?
It's really hard, I think, overcoming rejection. But again, I think understanding why the fear is there. And it is the psychology behind it, because from caveman time, we were fight, flight, or freeze, and we try and protect ourselves. So again, somebody did put in the comments, like, what is the worst that's going to happen if I get rejected? It's life is full of rejections, and that's where it comes back to having a growth mindset. Every single time that you would get rejected in life, whether it's sales or business or relationships, it's just really important to think, right, okay, what have I learned from this? So again, it might be a rejection that they don't want to buy your product or service. And again, is it because the timing's not right? Is it because they don't like you? Is it because, you know, they've bought from somebody else because it's cheaper or whatever it is? But really, I think it's disassociating yourself personally from every single sale and realize that it's not you. And one of my little mottos I talk about, and I think I mentioned this in one of the other webinars, is when I moved to Cape Town when I was 20, I turned 21 on the plane on my own, and I was really devastated to leave my family, my friends and my dog. And I got to the airport with my little boarding pass, and I was like, you know, I was literally just, tear stained, I was a mess. And the man at the airport said, "Where are you going, hen?" And I said, "I'm leaving my family and my dog, and I'm going to go and live in Cape Town." And he said, "Well, hen, that's one thing for sure." He said, "That's Glasgow's loss and Cape Town's gain." So I think keeping that everything in mind when you do get rejected, actually it's not, it's their loss and the next one's gain helps you to focus and stay positive in this situation when you get rejected. And they're not rejecting you, so don't take it personally.
Thanks, Alison. I've just put another Muhammad Ali quote in the chat there because I really like it. But earlier I put in there that he said, "I've never failed. I've either succeeded or I've learned." And what a lovely, lovely attitude that is. You know, to just think to yourself, "No, I didn't fail. I just didn't. You know, I learned from it. I didn't succeed." But anyway.
And I think it's hard because a lot of people talk the talk on that, but they don't walk the walk. They say, "Oh, I'm not bothered." I mean, that phrase, "Oh, I don't care, I'm not bothered," that's a sign that they actually do care and they actually are bothered. So I think it's, you know, really not just talk the talk and use those words, but actually mean it. And I think it's the same for every relationship, friends, family, business. It's, you know, it's important. I call it the Kenny Rogers. It's like you got to know when to hold in, know when to fold in, know when to walk away, and know when to run. It's just Kenny Rogers, the gambler, and that's when you know where your gambit is. You know, even if somebody said no to you, is it worth folding and just waiting for a while, or you know, are you, you know, feel no shame to walk away from any relationship that's not working, because it's never going to work in the end anyway.
No. No, very wise, Alison. You're very sage. Are you sure you're not about 300 years old, really? You've got all this experience and knowledge.
You know, the interesting thing, obviously there's parts in here that, again, I've done a lot of research, but I've never read a business book and I've never read a book on sales in my life. So the stuff that I talk about doesn't come from, you know, it comes from how I live my life. And, you know, they use the word thought leader, and like there's loads of people now, "Oh yeah, they're a thought leader." But I believe a thought leader is actually somebody that leads thoughts and doesn't take the thoughts from other things. So like I've never heard MD talking about Alison Edgar's big balls or bingo, or, you know, I hear a lot of people talking about things that other people have spoken about and they maybe make it their own. But I think, you know, I like to create things that I find are relatable to everyday people, because that's like me, and I struggle with a lot of the theories because I don't understand them.
I think that's absolutely right. I find it's not an expression I like because it sounds like management tosh, but there's an expression, groupthink. And when everyone just repeats back to each other, yeah, that's right. Yeah. We, you know, I heard them say that, so it must be true. And before you know it, you're quoting someone who said something to you as if you're the expert on it, which I spend most of my life doing, by the way. But I think it's very important occasionally to spend that time outside of that box. And you're right, have a bit of thought leadership. Think, what do I really think about this personally, without any external influence? Anyway, that's getting very philosophical. I'm not going to release a record, Tim Jones, because people would pay me not to sing. I have no musical ability whatsoever. Totally, totally tone deaf. Tim deaf, both.
You're Tim deaf.
I'm Tim deaf.
So thank you so much, everybody, for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm going to miss you now that I haven't got any more sessions. So don't forget to follow me on social. I'm on LinkedIn, Alison Edgar. So if there's any questions or anything, please do. And, you know, we'll get you that course as well, Amanda. And all we really need is your email and we'll subscribe you in, and, you know, be there when you're involved.
Well, thank you, Alison. Really, really appreciate that. And it won't be the last we see of you. I'm sure we'll have you back. Thank you to Alison. Thank you to the Heart of the Southwest LEP for funding this. Thank you all for joining us. Please look out for the follow-up emails and give us a testimonial if you can, so that we can try and do these more often. Please look out for the quarterly economic survey. Thank you all for sticking with us. Thanks for being members of the Chamber. We really appreciate you having part of the Chamber family, and we hope to see you again soon.